call this the live edition. And y'all know what we do here. We unpack our bag as it contains to culture, life, love, passion, and some more stuff.
Let's go back. Let's go. I don't know how do you remember it? I have to think about every time.
I am an exceptional human. I be trying to tell
you.
y'all.
You had it. You almost. It was like perfect.
It
until
was
you
so
said
perfect.
Some more stuff, and I said, okay.
I was close.
Let me go ahead and do it right, guys. So welcome back to Unpack Your Bag Podcast. We are your host, Tony Perks, Chantal, aka Chantelli. You know, I'm gonna give her a nickname every time.
Don't call me that.
And this is a place where we unpack our truth as it pertains to life, love, passion, and culture.
That's what I said.
And some more stuff was not.
And some more stuff. And some more stuff. We unpack that too.
Look, I read every time. It's okay. I don't remember it. I don't even know how you remembered it.
But look, I'm telling you straight up. If you keep calling me Chantelli, the only thing that's gonna happen is I'm gonna see somebody that I don't know that don't know me like that, right?
Ooh,
and they gonna be like, "Hey, Chantelli," and they're gonna get a part of me that they don't want. Like they gonna get a piece.
Forewarning
that they don't know.
I'm the only one that can say that.
And you shouldn't even be saying it. Like there ain't no only one. Like don't call me that.
I'm so sorry.
Don't call me that.
This
Somebody
is just part of,
like all that's
Chantelli
gonna
and
happen.
Kanye, the two things are gonna stand inside.
I can almost envision it now. Somebody will be like, "Hey, Chantelli," and I'm gonna just turn around, straight face, like,
Oh, that's funny. That
you
is
gonna
hilarious.
have me breaking all kind of rules. I ain't supposed to be cussing no more, and you just gonna have the person getting.
You know, it happens to the best. It's okay. But let's get into this topic for today. We're talking about the executive order that is for the transgender community. Okay, it's kind of crazy. The things that are happening in America at this point. Oh, were you about to say something? She's being she's being smart because I'm about to get a death sentence because normally if you say anything that goes against not even against if you say anything that the culture of transgender or LGBTQ A plus whatever, I think there's some other stuff.
It's LGBTQ+ at this point, I believe.
I think it's LGBTQ+ and there's A. I thought there was an A.
I don't think there's an A.
Let's go check it out. Anyways,
I don't think there's an A.
Usually if you say anything, it kind of like, you kind of get canceled. But I'm not even big enough to get canceled anyway. It doesn't matter.
Like if you say certain things that are negative, right, about this specific community, then the backlash seems to be like very, huge. Very heavy, right? As opposed to walking around carrying a Confederate flag, calling somebody a nigga, right? Like I'm just gonna say that the backlash is not similar, right? No, not at all. Like I don't think it's the same, so that's what I'll say.
Nah, I don't think it's the same, and I definitely think it's something you're supposed to tread lightly with. But whatever. So there was an order that was put into place by Joe Biden, okay. And where I got this information from is from usatoday.com. Story news. Fact check 2021. And
so no boss.
We'll see.
I just want to make sure you're not using gossip sources.
I mean, hey.
The shade room.
No. I'm leaving it at this one source. So if you guys want to go and look it up for yourself, this is what it says in there. But the order is pretty much using to where anybody who identifies as a certain gender can play sports in the gender that they choose. That's where it's essentially coming down to. Okay. Now, there are regulations that are involved with this already, with like people being transgender, turning from a male to a female, or female to a male. And they do have some stuff like for the Olympics or for colleges already that there needs to be a certain amount of hormone balances for certain genders and all that kind of stuff. Ooh, spit. But it's getting to the point now where it's going into the high schools. Okay. Where it's everywhere.
Is the high school the youngest? So like 14 to 17?
That's the
typical high school age
so far. But let me read. I'll read a little bit of it.
Okay.
It says any educational institution that receives federal funding must admit biologically male athletes to women's teams, women's scholarships, etc. Okay. So
is there an age group?
There's no age group on this yet. Okay. But I know this is for any federal funding for any school. Well, so essentially that could be for any.
There are some colleges that are federally funded.
Yeah. So, any school that has any ties to federal, unless you're in a private school.
Federal money, essentially.
So it's a section 1 of the executive order said education institutions that receive federal funding must allow boys who self-identify as girls to participate in female sports and that there would be administrative consequences if not. Okay.
Okay. So I feel some type of way about this, but in order for me to really understand, I need to know if this is referring to high school and middle school aged students, right? Okay. Because that changes a little bit. First of all, let me say this. If you feel like you're in the wrong body, I am not the person to tell you that you're not, right? Mm-hmm. Like I don't have that right, essentially, to tell you how you feel about yourself and your body. Yeah. So the changes that you want to make to your body, quite frankly, are none of my business, right? 100%. That's how I feel. Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, right? If that's what you want to do, fine, do it. I'm also not a proponent of being ridiculed, treated differently. You understand what I'm saying? Because of your choices, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody deserves love. Now, what makes this a little hinky for me, right? And I said I do need to know the age groups, is because men and women's bodies develop very differently, mm-hmm. right? Like they just do. Mm-hmm. They just do. So,
and at different times.
Mm-hmm. They develop as a period. They develop differently.
Girls tend to, start developing earlier than boys.
Yes. Okay. So let me give you an example. I used to coach basketball, right? AAU team, and 12 and 13-year-old girls play basketball. Right. Now, when we're just trying to get a game in, right? Mm-hmm. We would frequently scrimmage older teams, right? We would high school girl teams. We would scrimmage. Yeah. Same age teams. Okay. We would scrimmage. We would even scrimmage boys, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Boys teams.
Okay.
Now that's fine, right?
Okay.
Except for when you have this age group scrimmaging a boys team that is older than them, right? So 12 to 13, right? Girls, they're developing, right? Okay. They're developing, right? They're starting to get boobs. The hips is starting to spread a little bit. They're taller. Their feet are huge. You mm-hmm. understand what I'm saying? Like that's the first thing to grow is your boobs and your feet, mm-hmm. right? And then after that, you either grow into them or you don't, right? But somewhere around 14, 15, your feet are not growing anymore, right? Yeah. A woman's shoe size is determined very, very early on. That's almost the exact opposite for men, right? Yeah. Their feet continue to grow, and their feet, their height, everything continue to grow in some instances into their teenage years, right? Mm-hmm. So if a 13-year-old team is playing a 13-year-old boys team, those boys are scrawny, skinny. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. They haven't yet developed, right? Okay. There's no.
I can see that because they haven't really hit puberty.
Yes,
necessarily.
They haven't hit puberty.
I mean, maybe a couple might have gotten early, but most boys are not going to be developed at that point.
For the most part, right? There was never any issue, right? In mm-hmm. those type of scrimmages, right? Now the issue arises is when they get older, right? Yeah. And you're looking at high school boys, right? Who are trying to play a sport with a high school boy who is trying to develop and turn into a female girl, right? Mm-hmm. Your body at 15, a 15-year-old body, boy's body, and a 15-year-old girl's body are very different. Yeah. They are 100. Very different, 100%. Right? And you're looking at injuries, right? Mm-hmm. Now you're looking at somebody getting hurt because the bodies are totally different. And if there's no determinants, right? Like at 15, do we expect that this man who wants to be a female has completely gone through the necessary changes to do so at 15? Mm-hmm. No. Right? Like, I don't think that's something that we should expect. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And because of that, you're putting people in danger, right? Like that's a risk for injury. If this is talking about school age children. Mm-hmm. Okay. If it's not talking about school age children, my argument remains the same.
Okay. I just think the problem that I have with this mm-hmm. is because when reading the article, it says if you self-identify. Mm-hmm. So, for example, this is just hear me out. Mm-hmm. I can choose to identify as a woman or a man, right? Mm-hmm. So why can't I choose to identify as a 76-year-old Asian dude? Because I feel like it. Do you see where I'm going with this?
No.
Do you see I'm going? I'm choosing to change my gender just because I feel like that's mm-hmm. what it is. Mm-hmm. So if I feel like I'm an Asian dude, that's my feeling I'm choosing to identify as. So you need to you need to respect what I'm saying that I identify as just because I feel that way.
Well, yeah, right.
That's what I'm saying, you know.
So then, yeah, if you want to be a 76-year-old Asian dude, then that's your business. Go be a 76-year-old Asian dude.
Okay.
But you being a 76-year-old Asian dude does not cause harm or does not mean anything to anybody else. You know, when you start inflicting and overexerting your role in other people's lives and other people's situations, which they may or may not feel comfortable with, and other people, you know what I mean? When you start talking about like sports leagues and bathrooms and things like that, like that's fine, right? But then at that point, you're starting to merge into what other people do and do not feel comfortable with, right? So you being a 76-year-old Asian man don't have nothing to do with the rest of the population, right? I mean, the Asians might be offended.
I want you to call me what I identify as.
I call you Asian man.
Okay.
I'll call you Asian man, right?
Just saying, you know?
Just like I've come across young people, right, who want to be called, you know what I mean? I will call you by your name. I will respect your pronouns. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
That doesn't take anything away from me. Do you understand what I'm saying? It doesn't take anything away from me to call. I'll call you what you want to, and I'll respect your pronouns. That doesn't take anything away from me. I can do that. But
what if that becomes illegal?
What becomes illegal?
For you to call somebody like a him or a her compared to what they want to call you. Say, for example, I want to be called a she, and you don't agree. What if that becomes the point where it's like a hate crime to call somebody a he who identifies as she?
So I don't think
this is I'm just saying this is where it could go, which is like I'm seeing the problem of like
I don't think it could go. It could go there, but I don't think it could go there because when you start talking about a hate crime, you start talking about violence being inflicted on somebody, right? Like you don't go out.
That's emotional. That's emotional trauma. That's emotional violence because they don't want to be.
Emotional
called
violence is not a crime. I mean, you could cuss me out, right?
Yeah, good point.
All day long.
I mean, guess cancel culture is a crime, but
no, straight up. Crime. Yeah, but like seriously, that's not a crime. You could cuss me out all day long, right? You don't go to jail for that, right?
Yeah, true.
You may be considered a shitty person afterward. You know what I'm saying?
True.
But that has no bearing on your life, liberty, and pursuit of property. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's fine. Well, but we're talking about committing violence against somebody. That's totally different.
Okay, so let's go back to the situation with athletes, teams, stuff. Okay. I just don't think it's fair. To be honest, I don't think it's fair for a dude to transition into a woman and then play in women's sports.
I don't either.
When they're like physically superior.
I don't either. I don't think it's fair either.
I just think like for
and
women,
physically superior like feels weird to me.
Oh,
but
no,
like
I mean like overall like men
totally
are naturally
different.
stronger.
Like, yes, totally different
I'm not
bodies
saying, like,
and builds.
Superior like, you know, men are better. Like I'm just saying like physically like they're the stronger
physical differences,
side,
like physical differences, you know?
There's no way. Like you put the top tennis player male compared to female, I don't know if it's going to really be
Serena would kick his ass.
I don't think so.
I think Serena would kick his ass.
No, because I heard her on interview saying that she wouldn't even play because it would be totally unfair. Like there was no way she could beat him. This is her own words. So I'm thinking like, okay, if this is the greatest tennis player,
I'll yield to the GOAT.
So now, if we do this and transition this way, if what I'm saying is correct, if that men, it's easier for physical sports for men,
right?
Or they would, or if they would dominate, if that's the case, then if we put the sports together, then Serena Williams would never be Serena Williams.
Agreed. Yeah.
So then.
It's a different. I feel
you know
that.
What I'm saying? So then it's like so it's like now you're taking away from women's rights to be able to compete.
I feel that
because if you're gonna put this uneven playing field, completely uneven in certain aspects, you know, it's also opinionated. But
and also,
how would that look then? You know what I mean? That's the problem I'm seeing. Is like how would it would take away all these rights for women, even women who are competing and they're competing against transgender boys or men.
And I do see
and
like,
then it's like, well, if these transgender men who went to female are competing better and getting scholarships that the women should have deserved, then it's like, you know, it's kind of like that's the problem I'm seeing.
I do see the ways that this can potentially affect women's sports more adversely than it could affect men's sports, right? Yeah. Because of that, like you said, like men's bodies are different, right? They're stronger in something, they're different, period, right? So you put that man who wants to be a woman in any female sport, they're going to take it over and dominate it. But if the roles were reversed and you take a woman who identifies as male and you put them, you understand what I'm saying, in a male dominated sport, they don't make it.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
That's the point.
They don't. I don't even think they're at a level where they can compete. You know, excuse me, maybe I'm wrong, but you know what I mean. Like certain things, you can't.
I mean, there's some women that can compete with men for sure. There's some women that are just like, okay, you know,
absolutely. I'm not talking about
blow away like some of the men.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that.
If you put toe to toe, top physical men, top physical women.
Once we get to the collegiate level, and I think if you put a woman who identifies as male on a male basketball team. Mm-hmm. I don't know, right?
I don't know.
We don't know. Or there's some female ballers.
There's some
that are hoopers, right? But that's not the majority.
Put the top person in basketball into women's league and then see what would happen.
If you put LeBron James in the WNBA, he slaughters it, right? But on the flip side of that, if you put Brittany Griner on an NBA team, I think she holds her own.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's there's a duality to it, but I do think that LeBron James' effect on the WNBA would be his effect would be he would have a more adverse effect impact than Brittany Griner would have on the men's game. Do you understand what I'm saying?
And that's the problem that I have with it. I mean, it's just like I don't know. I think the differences are here for a reason. Mm-hmm. Like the reason why men and women don't compete together is for a reason. You know, some things women are better at, some things men are better at. Just general. Like women can take more pain than most men. On general, that's why at least I've heard my opinion. But I feel like I've seen a lot of dudes, including myself, that's like something happened, I'm out for the count. And I see the women.
I think if men had to deal with monthly menstrual cramps, I really feel like it would take y'all out. I really feel like that it would take y'all out because sometimes it takes me out.
No, real talk. I had drank. You know those drinks Tilts. You know they're kind of like Four Locos. They're like the cheap version of Tilts.
Okay.
And this is like years ago. I drank like 2 or 3 of them straight. Like and I got really wasted. Woke up the next day and my stomach. I was cramping like my stomach was like spasming, and I was just like I couldn't move. I couldn't get out of the bed, and I was like. If this is what like menstrual cramps feel like,
that's not.
I would rather die. I would rather die. I can't.
I don't think that's what you felt, but that's not what menstrual cramps feel like. Because menstrual cramps can happen in a way that they affect your back, your legs. You know what I mean? Like
what you're saying is even worse. What you're saying is even worse.
Back, like
no. You're saying what is worse than what I experienced.
I know. So that's what I'm saying. So that was terrible, right? But it ain't.
It was one of the worst.
We talking about something different.
One of the worst.
And we're talking about these symptoms last for like a week.
Yeah, I can't do that.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. So like some things women are better, men are like, you know, just handle it better.
Right.
You know, so but that's the problem I'm seeing is that if you start mixing these things up, there's gonna be a lot of confusion for a long time for everybody.
Imagine putting a transgender female, right? A male to female, in track and field. Like even in the Olympics track and field. Like
who was the girl? Who was the
Lolo Jones?
Was it Lolo? She has
Jones.
the.
No, I'm not. Lolo Jones was cheating. My bad. It's not her. I'm lying. It's not her. My bad.
No, there was somebody who was Olympic runner, and she did like some sprint meter in like 50 or 49 seconds and like 49.52 seconds. Mm-hmm. And then they were saying that she had won. She was like the top gold medalist in the world. Mm-hmm. And then they put it up and they found that there's 300 boys in high school that can run that fast. In high school. So when I hear that, I'm like thinking like, if we start merging all this, it's going to just be a lot of confusion for everybody. Everybody's going to be confused.
It's not Lolo, my bad. Y'all know who I'm talking about.
But you know, I just think
not her.
You know, with this topic, you know, people might feel a certain way, say something, whatever. But ultimately, like, I'm not coming to hate or try to, you know, bash anybody.
Right.
I'm just trying to figure out how we can make this more conducive for everybody. So you're not taking away women's rights or women's scholarships for things that they deserve because you're competing against men in a field that they may not be able to dominate in. You know, it's like I just think it's unfair.
It just opened. Here's the problem. The problem is that legislation like this makes more questions than it answers. Right. Mm-hmm. People have more questions, right? And unfortunately, right now, this legislation does little to answer the concerns, you know what I mean, and the questions that really arise out of legislation like this. My issue, okay, my issue.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Again, no. It's not even gonna be like that. My issue with executive orders like this is what happens is we find a way, and by we, I mean the political system, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, whoever is in that office at the time, right? Find a way to completely push Black specific issues to the side, right? And clump them in with civil rights issues.
Okay.
There was a time when civil rights issues was specific to Black people in this country, right? Now it's like given to, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be this way, but now it's like everybody's rights, right? Now we're talking about LGBTQ people. Now we're talking about trans. Now we're talking about the Asians. Now we're talking, you know what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden we're talking about everybody. But the biggest issue, right? One of the biggest issues that this administration faced, right, was specifically to whom? The Black community, right? And instead of addressing the Black community, right, and this happens across the board in politics, what we do is we decide to take everybody, right, and put them in a little box. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? And I think that's what this issue does. You take everybody and you put them in a box. And then you're able to propose something like putting Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill, and that's supposed to make us shut the fuck up. You understand what I'm saying? Because he addressed civil rights. In this way,
somebody in a $20 bill doesn't do anything.
It don't do. Thank you. That's the point I'm making. It doesn't do anything.
I mean, hearing, like, you just think about it. Like, yeah, what does that do? Nothing.
We asked for, right? Like, think about it. Let's bring it back to terms. We asked for accountability measures for the police, right? Things like defunding the police. That's what we asked for. We asked for police accountability and oversight. You understand what I'm saying? We asked to stop being killed by the hands of the police, right? You gave us some civil rights measures, right? And this goes across the board. It was the trans thing. It was like hiring practices in the federal government. It was a lot of things, right? The civil rights issues, right? But for my Black folks specifically, because y'all was the ones that was hollering, y'all get $20 on Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill, right? And a box, right? A huge box with everybody in it full of civil rights stuff. Yeah. That's not for us. You know what I'm saying? And it does nothing to address the things that we were talking about, right? But he does a slew of executive orders. You understand what I'm saying? On one box, and if he slaps the name civil rights on it, we supposed to be happy. Right. We ain't, because it's not what we asked for.
Yeah. And now it's just turning to everything but anything for the Black community.
Exactly. So. That's the gaslight. It becomes everything but for the Black community.
Yeah. Makes sense.
That's what this is.
So I don't know. It's frustrating. That's
what this is.
It's frustrating. It's just, I don't know. To me, it just sounds like a lot of confusion. And I don't know what does the plus mean in the LGBTQ?
I don't know.
I
feel like I used to know.
I just literally heard about this the other day, and I thought there was an A attached to it. It's just really confusing because
first of all, there's so many. First of all, let's start by saying that depending on who you talk to, there are so many more acronyms. Like I've heard LGBTQ+A. I've heard I'm confused. The plus, the 2S is supposed to be like two-spirited, which is supposed to like be like a nod to Native Americans who, when they experience, I guess,
is it confusing?
When they experience like a fluid sexuality, they call it a two-soul or two spirits or something like that, and they operate in them, something like that.
It's confusing. Look, it's very confusing. But the end of the day, these executive orders, executive orders need to be thought out more, and they need to be refined more for the details of individual people. Instead of just civil rights being everybody should have their own agenda of what they need for themselves.
Look, I'll call you what you want me to call you. You know, what you want to do with your body ain't none of my business, right?
And I will say this, because you said about defunding the police. I don't ever agree with defunding the police.
Oh, don't get me started.
We're gonna be real quick, but I just don't agree with defunding the police.
Why?
Because what is it gonna do to take money away from them? We should reform the police.
No, absolutely not. People who say that don't really have no clue how much money is spent on police salaries and as a country, right? So let me give you an example. Okay. The city of LA, well, I think it was their 2019 fiscal budget. Okay. First of all, this stuff is a matter of public knowledge. If you ask for a city's public budget, it's on the internet. You can find it. It's a matter of public knowledge. So I believe it was $2 billion that the city of Los Angeles spent on the LAPD in 1 year.
Okay.
$2 billion.
Okay.
With 80% of that going toward police salaries.
Okay.
Think about that for a second.
It's a lot of money. That's
a lot of money. So defunding the police means instead of spending all of that money on police salaries and hiring more police, and I'm sure the percentage may be wrong. The 80% part may be wrong. But understand that the bulk of the bulk.
Yeah.
The far majority of the $2 billion goes toward police salaries.
Okay.
Take some of that salary money, stop hiring police, and then hire people to come in where the police don't have to. Right now, when anything happens, we call the police. If there is a bum outside of Stater Brothers, we call the police, right? If there's a drug addict shooting up in the alley, we call the police. If there is a domestic violence incident, we call the police. If the child needs to be taken out of the home, we call the police. For so many things, we call the police, right? Okay. And 4 of the things that I just named may not require police intervention.
Okay. So who would be qualified to go do that? And who would be who would be qualified to go do that?
So maybe what we should do is we should take the money and fund these programs that are qualified to go do that. Who is qualified to pick up a bum hanging from in front of the Target? Homeless people, right? I mean, not homeless people, but an entity that works with the homeless population, right?
Okay.
Fund an entity that works with the homeless population. Take some of that money, fund an entity that works with the homeless population, and part of that is outreach, right?
Okay.
Second part of that is, why don't you fund drug and alcohol rehabilitation programs, right? Okay. So then instead of calling the police on the drug addict, we can call these programs, right? Who do what? Outreach, can go pick them up, right? Instead of putting all of this money into the police department, why don't we fund DCFS, right? So that when DCFS goes out to deal with DCFS can now go out to deal with domestic disputes.
Okay.
Right?
Do you think they're going to do that? Because there's an element of danger that, one, if these people are alcoholic or on drugs, there's an element that they could be violent or out of their mind or schizophrenic.
And if it gets there, here's the thing. If it gets there, you know what you should do?
What?
Call the police. But we don't know. We're not just going to dispatch the police for every damn thing anymore, right?
Why don't they make officers that are trained in these areas?
Here's the thing. Why don't you? Because we don't need officers, right? What officers do, and this is something that I don't think is talked about enough, officers elevate danger, right? If an officer shows up to a situation, people do what? One of two things. They either turn all the way down or get all the way hype, right?
Okay. It's possible, yeah.
That's what happens. They either turn all the way down or they get all the way hype, right? Okay. In the instance that they get all the way hype, they call more. The way up? No, I'm just saying those are the two instances. I don't know. Yeah. So in the instance when they turn all the way up, what happens? They call more police officers, right? In the instance when they turn all the way down, what happens?
Well, this is why I disagree. Because there's been many times where we had psych patients where they called the PEP team, for example. PEP team is a 5150 team. Where, I know. And they don't come out because it's not warranted for them to come out. They'll make excuses for reasons why they can't come out, why they shouldn't come out, or they get there and then they're like, well, we can't take this person anyways because their psych episode is over at this point. Okay. So then, so what do you do then?
Let me ask you this. And so first of all, my experience, I've had quite a bit of experience.
Kayla said, who's trying to fight the bums?
Exactly. Means in that it's not.
But I'm saying, what job that you don't like? Are you really gonna want to go out there?
But that's the problem. There are but that's the thing, though. The point that we're making is that there are so many nonprofit organizations that deal specifically in these areas.
Okay.
So many. There are so many. Like, we can't name them. There are so many nonprofit organizations that are geared toward helping the homeless in Los Angeles, that are geared toward drug and rehabilitation, that are geared toward, children and domestic violence. We have so many organizations, right, that are geared toward that, but they're not being funded. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. There's not enough money to go around. We're saying if you take a little bit of what you're giving to police officers and give a little bit more to these entities, let's see what happens to crime, right? Let's see what happens to these things.
Well,
but right now our first option is to send the police. Send the police.
I just think that instead of defunding the police, you should reform the police to have the proper training for these scenarios.
You can't.
Why not?
Because that's going to cost more money.
Use that same money. And instead of paying all the salaries, take that 20% you're talking about and put it in the training of how officers need to handle certain situations.
Salaries come from you hiring more police officers. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So defunding the police means stop hiring police officers, right? And take the money, right, that you would use on their salaries to fund other things, right? What you're saying is take more police officers off the street so that the police officers that are off the street can now attend these trainings, which means that they need more police officers to combat the police officers that are in training. Do you see what I'm saying?
I'm confused.
If the police officers are in training, they're not on the street.
Okay, but you're not training all the officers at the same time.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It really does not matter.
I just don't agree. I don't agree because I just feel like crime doesn't stop because people are having issues.
That's another thing. We need to reform.
There's a lot of crime going on in general.
That's the problem. That's what we think. We need to reform our definition of crime because I guarantee you not as much crime is happening on these streets as you think. I guarantee you that all the times that the police are called out and dispatched, I guarantee you that I would say half of it is for not crime offenses, things that are not crime.
Okay.
To deal with things that are not crime, right? Police officers should deal with crime, right?
Yeah.
The things that are not crime, who should deal with?
People who are qualified for that particular issue.
People who are qualified for that particular issue. So if I just told you that 50% of the things that the police get called out for aren't crimes, then do we really need police officers to combat the whole 100? No, because half of the stuff that they're doing is not crime.
I still think that you should just reform to where police have the training for every situation that you're talking about. It should be longer trainings for all the things.
But why don't you just empower the community organizations that can deal with it? Because empowering community organizations, what studies have shown, and there's multiple theories to support this, is that when you empower community programs to support the community, then the people that live in the community are less likely to commit crimes.
Okay.
Because the social bonds that connect them to their community are stronger.
Okay.
So if you empower the community, right? Give the community the money, right?
Okay.
Then the people in that community are less likely to commit crimes. That's what this is about. And studies even show that to be true. Studies show that the way that we deal with criminals and crime right now do absolutely nothing for reducing crime rates. In fact,
dealing with criminals is not the argument.
It doesn't matter. It's all the same thing.
You're saying like dealing with criminals. No, I'm saying about the either defunding the police or reforming the police. I'm saying I'm for reforming the police to give them the proper training to deal with all these situations.
And what I'm telling you is that this isn't a boxable issue, right? This isn't a whole a defund the police, or this is not something that you can just put in a box. What I'm telling you is that anything that we do with the police department will have an overwhelming impact on the criminal justice system as a whole.
So defunding is going to have an overwhelming impact on the whole.
What I'm saying is that if you defund it like this, what I'm saying is that if you defund it like this, right, and empower the communities, right, what I'm saying is that will have an impact on the criminal justice system as a whole. Yes. And I think that you will see a decrease in the amount of people being arrested, therefore a decrease in the amount of people who are going to jail, and by association, a decrease in the amount of crimes that are committed. That's what I think. Because there are multiple criminal justice theories that support what I'm saying. I'm not making this up.
I'm not saying you are. I'm just.
If you look at the city government, if you look at the criminal justice system as a whole, right, and how much money we spend on criminal justice, right, which includes policing, corrections, and the judicial system, an overwhelming amount of money goes where? Do you think?
Well, hold on.
To the police.
I just think. So everyone's talking about defund the police, okay? Which has already happened.
It hasn't happened.
Yeah, they already pulled programs from people that are going to be going into the academy that they can't go into right now. The whole academy's been shut down for that reason.
Okay. But that's not a fair statement. Okay. That's not a fair statement. Don't say that, because that's not a fair statement. Every police instance that we have,
okay,
is not being funded from the same source. Cities fund police departments. Counties fund the sheriff. So that's like, it's like 18 million different pots of money. You can't say that.
Mistaken. Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm not going to.
But the point is that you're talking about putting these people, or, you know, building the community and all this stuff, and like, you know, having other programs. I'm saying, at the end of the day, why don't more black people become officers? Then you don't have as much racism in the communities that you're talking about. You don't have much people getting killed because they're relatable. If you just do that, then that solves it. You don't have to defund. You don't got to, literally, that will solve a lot of the crime. Instead of it blaming on the police, why don't more black people become officers? Why don't you hire more black people or Mexicans or whoever? More multicultural community instead of just white people. Then we can actually solve a problem here.
No.
What are your thoughts?
That black people only account for 13% of the population. So even if black people did join the police force, right, in the same, in the relative, and for this we'd have to set up a ratio, right, for it to be consistent for how many black people there are in the country compared to how many white people there are in the country, right? Black people only make up 13% of the population. So no matter, so even if more black people join the police force, right, it would make some bit of a difference, but it wouldn't make an overwhelming difference because we're still going to be the minority.
Well, you know, this is why
we're still going to be the minority.
You know what's crazy? Because I've looked out here, and most officers I see in this valley are Mexican. So think about it. If you look at what is the ratio of white people to Mexican people? Do you know?
I think Hispanics are at like 18% of the population.
Okay, so there's still an overwhelming number of Mexican officers, Hispanic officers here. So either whether 13%, it's okay. But the point is, if there are more black people who are officers who are in the cities with more black people, would there be as many shootings as you're talking about?
Yes.
How so?
Yes. So
yes. Okay. So then it wouldn't be a racist thing. It would be a police thing, is what you're saying.
It's not a race. Okay, so what we're talking about is not necessarily a racism thing now. Okay. What we're talking about as far as defunding the police is not a racist thing. Okay. What we're talking about is how we need to reallocate funds, right, from police officers to community organizations. That's not a race thing. Okay.
Because I hear a lot about racism and cops being racist, and that's why they're killing black folks. I think. So if you hire more black people, there wouldn't be that issue.
But that's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about defunding the police. Defunding the police is reallocating funds that has nothing to do with race.
What I'm saying is I hear a lot of times people are always talking about the reason why there's so many blacks being killed because of racism. And then the problem if you don't want people getting killed and shot, hire more blacks. But then that won't even, what you're saying now is hiring more blacks won't even solve the problem either.
No.
So then this only solution is to defund the police.
No.
And put that money into allocating for other things that other people can do.
That is not the only solution. That is the solution.
That you're saying that you may work.
That is a solution that may work, right? But here's the issue. Here's the issue with what you said. Okay. The issue with what you said is that even when black people become police officers, there's not an instance where there's a huge break in what it is that we're talking about, right?
That's because there's not enough black people.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It does not matter.
I just don't believe. I don't agree.
It doesn't matter. That's like saying if we brought more black people to America, America wouldn't be racist anymore.
Not necessarily.
That's exactly what you're saying, right? No. Because yes, it is. Because what you're talking about is if we put more black people into a
positions of power.
Listen, if we're putting more black people into a biased system, then the system changes. No, that's not what happens, right? Okay. What happens is you have black people trying to figure out where they fit. You have black people who are trying to with the divided loyalty issue. They're trying to be both a police officer so you can be fully accepted, because if you're not fully accepted, that's the difference between you going home to your wife and kids and you not, right? Okay. Meaning that you have to have a brotherhood with these people that got your back, right? Okay.
But
listen.
Your thing is totally different from the.
But listen.
Okay.
We put more black people in there. Black people now have black police officers now have this divided loyalty. I've heard this from black officers. They have this divided loyalty because I need to have his back, because if he doesn't have my back, then I don't go home, right? Okay. So I need to support him. Okay. White police officer, Latinx police officer, doesn't matter. Police officer, right? Okay. Now, within that also comes this duality to have a voice, right, for the community that made you or raised you, right, from where you come from, right? Okay. So how do you balance that duality?
I don't know.
That's what's happening.
Okay.
It's not being balanced.
Okay, but this still goes back to my point. The more black officers you have,
it doesn't matter, so because they're not going to make that big of an impact in the whole. Do we need more?
That's the reason why, because no one believes that they will. That's the problem.
It's because of numbers. No, it's population wise, Anthony. Like, it's not because it's population wise. There's not enough of us.
Listen, if everybody thinks the way you think, then it's never going to get better.
No.
Because
it's not. It has nothing to do with the way I think. It has to do with volume of numbers.
Listen.
13% of the population compared to like 70+%. It doesn't matter how many black people enter into these positions, because we will always be outnumbered.
Then what's the point of fighting for rights if we're never?
We will always be outnumbered. It's not.
What you're saying is, what's the point?
That's what I'm saying. We're not fight. That's what you're not understanding. We're not fighting for rights. What you're saying is we need to force our way into these systems, right? And granted, that will have an impact, but the greatest impact comes from reallocating funds, comes from measures for police accountability. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, measures for police accountability. Yeah,
No. You're saying if we put more black people in the police department, then this problem goes away, right? Or it gets better. No, because sheer numbers wise, we will be the minority in that situation as well.
So no matter what, there's no point for any black people.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. What
you're saying is the numbers is not going to change.
What I said was your answer is not a solution, right, to police brutality in the black community, because we will be outnumbered. I did not say that doesn't mean that black people shouldn't become police officers.
But it's not a solution. So what's the point? Like you're saying, I'm saying this is a possible solution to help.
And I'm telling you
and you're
that
saying it's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
So then why would anybody black want to be an officer then?
I don't know.
I'm just saying.
But that's not the point of the conversation. The point of the conversation is first of all, the point of the conversation was defunding the police.
Yes.
And you took it here. So I'm trying to follow your train of thought.
No, that's okay. It's okay. I just wanted to hear.
The second thing is black people don't even want to be police officers because there's such a huge blatant distrust in the community.
And that's why, because there's not enough black officers.
No, that's not why.
That's why.
That's a small reason. That's not the primary reason. The primary reason is because white cops kill black people all the time. The primary reason is because the police were used as a slave catcher organization before. That's where the roots of this come from. So it ain't got nothing to do with what you said. The bigger reason, right?
Okay.
The bigger reason is because of the things that I just said. There's a blatant distrust in the community, and that shit doesn't just go away.
I'm not saying it's just going to go away.
And the way that it does not go away, right, is by continuing to give police officers the greatest amount of power in a system that perpetually locks up black people, that perpetually locks up minorities. To keep giving police the majority of the power in this particular system, then it's always going to be adversarial.
I truly believe that if there was enough black officers, it would change a lot of this.
There can't be by sheer numbers alone. Will it work? All of these are good ideas, right? All of these are good ideas.
I mean,
but that's not. No.
We just have to disagree.
You are killing me. You are killing me, man. You are killing me, man.
I still think reform is better than defund.
You are killing me, man. Why would you reform a broken system? The shit is broke. Why are you talking about reforming it?
That's reforming. It's reshaping the system that you're in.
No, man. Some stuff is so broke that it can't be fixed. And I personally think that what we're talking about right now is one of those instances. But no, why would you reform a broken dinner plate?
Because you can make art from it.
You don't reform a broken dinner plate. That doesn't make sense.
You really can though. But
this dinner plate broken. I'm gonna reform it.
No, you can glue it back and make art from it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Throw that shit away.
I don't agree.
Throw that shit away and try again.
I don't agree.
Try something else that might work, but we won't. Right? Instead of going to the store and getting a new plate, right, or coming up with a different idea for plates, we keep trying to reform the shit that's broke. And we tried it. We're like, let's get police body cams. That shit didn't work. You know what? Let's do this. That shit didn't work.
Well, then, okay, my next solution is black people more inside of the police system.
Let's try something more radical, right? Okay. Let's try something more radical. Let's hit them where it hurts. Let's take their money and reallocate it toward community programs.
Okay.
Let's do that.
I mean, we have to agree to disagree.
I can't believe you don't agree with this. It's actually, it's like, I'm trying not to be this mad, but I am hot right now. Like, it's hot in here. These lights, it's hot.
Okay.
It's hot.
We have a different point of view, different perspectives, and this is what the show is about.
It's hot, man.
We had a lot of comments in here. I didn't get to read them.
Okay, read the comments.
Guys. I mean, there's quite a bit.
Okay, read some of them.
So, defunding the police. No, we need the police.
Who says that?
Ken Miller says that.
Okay, Kenny, go rewind back and see what I said.
I don't want to put names out there.
Okay, sorry.
What about hiring more African Americans? I said that everybody heard her Chantal's response. Trust and believe nobody from DPSS. DPSS will fight. Trust and believe nobody from DPSS will fight.
I don't know what that means.
And then it says, I pass by LA County mental health department every day and the police are called every day.
Yes, that's another thing.
Okay.
In my experience with the PET team, if I have a student that is suicidal, do you know who we call?
PET team?
No, we call the police, because the PET team sometimes has ridiculous response time hours.
Yeah, they do hours from them, which person.
So it's like somebody will be there to help your suicidal student between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. midnight. And you're like, what the fuck?
And then by the time the crisis is already over, you're just like, okay.
So then what if you take some of the money, right, to help PET team response time so that we don't have to call the police, right? Okay. That would be an example. But we can't, because y'all want to give $2 billion to the police.
Isn't that part of reforming the police?
No. Some things are not police responsibilities. The police arrest criminals.
So the PET team not part of the police?
Pause. No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't be.
They arrest people that they deem that may be a criminal. They're not charged. They're not convicted yet.
Okay, so look, the police arrest criminals, and you can nuance that how you want to. That's their job, right?
Okay.
The police arrest criminals. The police arrest criminals. All right. Okay. The police do not pick up people who are suicidal. That's not their job. That's not their job.
So then why
don't we fund? Exactly. You want to know why they're called? Because the police will pick them up quicker than the PET team will.
Okay, but you act like
the police response time is shorter than the PET team. Why is the police response time shorter? Because there's a gang of them niggas.
But you act like there's not money there's not money anywhere else. Like you act like there's not money anywhere else.
But what I'm saying is
like money is printed every day. Money's printed every day.
Here's the thing. We're not talking about what's printed every day. We're talking about city budget. So if you look at the Los Angeles city budget, which I have, I'm not telling you guys something that I think, right? Some of this shit I know. If you look up how much money is spent on police officers and how much money is spent on mental health, you'd be surprised. It ain't nowhere near $2 billion.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So take some of that money and put it over there, and then take a little bit of that and put it over there, and take a little bit of that and put it over there, and see what happens.
Okay, let's read some more comments. It says, you can empower the community by hiring people that look like the community.
That would be helpful. That's helpful.
That's what I was saying. Great statement, but if you watch the last class that graduated from LASD, there's probably 2 or 4 black people that are graduating. Okay. What are some community organizations that you do you think the funds should go to? Got that. Let's see what else. To be fair, reallocating funds is also a reform. Okay.
Okay, that's true. That's true. I said reallocating form. He said reallocating funds is a form of reforming. I said that's true.
And then says, what about paying the African American officers more?
Good luck with that.
I'll do that.
Good luck with that. Let's not forget that right now, currently, the majority of the police officers are white, and if you try to give a black cop more, it's not the truth.
So the last thing is, when is it? Who else are you gonna call? Which answer that? But then it says, so money solves all the problems.
Money solves, in the instances of community programs, money solves the bulk of the problems. Not all of them, but it solves a lot. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We're talking about community programs that have to look for grants to stay alive, right? Mm-hmm. And get very little funding for instances that they're meant to help and protect. Yes.
So I think this is a really good conversation. Two polar opposite views, but I think healthy, very healthy.
I'm tired.
I think very healthy. What happened?
That one team you guys said you should call. Like
Pep team? Oh, the pep team?
The pet team.
Pep team, yeah.
Pet.
I always say pep.
I don't know if it's the pep.
I was a pep.
To be honest with you, I don't know if it's the
and
pep
I'm a nurse,
or the pet
I'm a
team.
nurse last Tony. I thought it was pep, PEP.
It might be. I don't know.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
I think this is a really good conversation, Chantal. We have totally
All
different
I'm saying
views.
is that, like,
look, it's okay to have different views and opinions of the black experience in America and how
we've hired more police officers before, and that shit, it doesn't work. And like, you guys, look, I studied this. But shit. I don't hear people that really want to. I don't hear about black people really want to be officers because they don't trust them motherfuckers.
Yeah, but then why? So that's the thing. Like, if you get enough people to go in there, you can have more trust. Why would you want to
be a part of a system that was historically designed to keep you in chains?
Because you can go in there and make a change.
Okay.
That's the thing. Like, you act like
like
that's.
I'm not okay. I'm not arguing with you no more. Okay.
I just think like It just sounds like why would I go in there and do that? I'm not gonna go do that, but then it's not gonna change. Like what are you gonna do? Like you go into something to fix it. You go inside it. If your computer's broke, you open it up and you move the parts and fix it that way. You don't do it from the outside. Everything changes from the inside out. Your mind changes from the inside. Paradigm shift happened from the inside out into the road.
Here's the thing.
So everything you're going to do has to change from the inside.
I know, not necessarily. I think that there needs to be an equal amount of force from both inside and outside of this specific organization, this specific system, in order for there to be change. But some of it does happen from the inside. Some of it happens from the outside. I think it takes both.
Okay. I just think it's going to, I mean, you can do all the outside you want, but it's not going to change if the people are inside or aren't willing to change.
But here's the thing: the people have no incentive to change, right?
If there was enough black people, then they would.
How, Anthony?
Because there's more numbers. There'll be more numbers. You can't deny that many.
And I just told you that 13% is not enough to be more. No matter how many more black police officers we get to join, they will still be outnumbered.
I understand, but you're not hearing me.
They still gonna be outnumbered.
Listen.
So what are you saying?
So think about it. If there's more black officers in the black communities, younger black people, there would not be as many people shot.
I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Because I'm sure that I can find statistics that show you that in the last 5 years, there has been an increase of the number of black officers that applied to the police department. I'm sure I can find that statistic for you. And still, black people are doing what? Getting shot, man.
Yeah, but so you're saying that they're shot by white people, but that there's black cops and they wouldn't be getting shot.
No, I'm not saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm tired. I don't want to do this with you. I don't want to do this with you. I already told you why the shit won't work, right? And you keep going back to it. I already told you why it's not going to work.
The wall went up. The wall went up.
I don't know how many ways to keep telling you why that's not going to work.
Okay.
I don't have no more words.
I guess at the end of the day,
I don't have no words.
We gotta agree, disagree.
Like, I get we have some like police officers, and I know police officers, and I'm friends with you. I got correctional officers. Like, I know, like, I get it. However,
I understand.
No.
I just think with that type of thinking is why things weren't going to change in that way. With that type of thinking, it's going to keep people from not going, not doing, and not being able to change the infrastructure from the inside out. It's like if the top,
and I think
the top 1%.
And here's the thing: I think your kind of thinking is exactly what's going to keep black people in this same position. I think your kind of thinking is exactly what's going to keep an adversarial system between police officers and the black community.
By trying to infiltrate the system and change it?
No, because you're saying that all we need to do is take what we already have. If we take what we already have and we could polish it up a little bit and we could do a little bit of this and we can put some new curtains up, it'll be fine, right? You're saying that the system presently constructed is fine. All we got to do is polish it up a little bit, add a little wax, put some new curtains in, get some new blood, and everything is going to change, except it won't.
Okay.
Period.
I just disagree.
I'm saying is that we need something so radical.
Okay.
Because
like
we've already
the police.
Yes, because we've already tried to juice it up a little bit.
So I guess we're gonna see because they're defunding the police, so we're gonna find out.
That's another thing.
You
keep saying that.
That's where
we're not. Who's defunding the police?
I don't know. That's what
Nobody's defunding the police.
That's where there's not any more academies going for because they have no budget because the budget got revoked.
But here's the thing. No. First of all, police academies come and go all the time. Budget freezes come and go all the time. It's the city budget. It's bureaucracy. That shit happens all the time. That has nothing to do with the hot button topic of defunding the police. Because if the police was really being defunded, come on, man. If the police will really be defunded, it means that these academies that are being put off wouldn't be coming back.
We don't know if they're coming back. We don't know how long it'll be till they come back.
We're also in the middle of a pandemic, right?
Okay.
Come on, guys. City budget.
They just still had an academy.
But listen, city budgets have been cut across the board. My friend is in CDCR. They got crazy cuts. Her check got cut. Their hours got cut. Things are happening right now because the city budget itself has been affected by COVID. Not because of the police being defunded. We're in the middle of a pandemic, which also has a lot to do with the way money is being spent in these cities.
Okay.
And reallocated. So that's not because of defunding the police. Don't say that. That's not true.
Okay.
It's not true. And furthermore, when they were talking about defunding the police, the city of LA pledged to cut $100,000 from the police budget.
Okay.
That was the defunding effort.
Okay.
You think they're not doing
$100,000? It's not that much money.
It ain't shit. It's like they won't get a Christmas party.
I mean, it's not that much money. But
so no, that's not true.
I just still, yeah.
That's not true.
We just have to agree.
Police academies being cut has nothing to do with them defunding the police.
Well, I think we should agree to disagree at this point. You have your stance. I have my stance. We'll just hope that somehow we can meet in the middle. More officers.
That's what you think.
You know.
Yeah, because more officers is it.
And providing more funds to these other type of programs that will help. Besides calling the police.
That's what I think.
So I think in the middle, both of those would be.
Next time, I'm not gonna get so mad. Although okay. I might get mad. I take that back. I'm probably gonna get mad. I'm probably gonna get mad, but I'm gonna also answer the YouTube questions.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay. It's good. But guys, I hope you guys got some value from this conversation.
Don't get me on this. Don't get me on this podcast asking me crazy questions.
Someone said, believe in change. Someone said, I like the passion. We were both passionate people about what we stand for. And ultimately, we're both looking for the same thing, for the black community to strive and be stronger, better in all ways. So
I'm looking to not get shot by the police. That's what I'm looking for. Let me be 100% clear.
Okay. So that's why if there's more black people in the police, you wouldn't be as scared.
Okay, Anthony.
Okay. That's my
because it's not like Hispanic people don't shoot. Like, come on, man. It's not.
Turn me off.
Turn me off. Turn me off. Turn me off. Turn me off. Turn me off. Turn me off. Turn me off. Like, turn me off.
Gender to
turn me off.
This is what happens on Unpack Your Bag Podcast.
Turn me off.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into this
That's it.
wonderful episode.
Turn me off. I need to go work out. Turn me off. Turn me off. Turn me off.
You guys know what to do. All that stuff we always talk about. That Chantal's pop. Are you gonna say it this time, Chantal, or no?
No.
See, you ain't gonna say it. So
turn me off.
Do all that stuff you guys normally should be doing. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me guys know what you guys think. What are your plans? What do you think we should do as far as this transgender thing and the police reform, defund, all that stuff? Let us know in the comments what you think. Thank you guys so much for another episode on Unpack Your Bag Podcast. We are your hosts, Tony Perks and Chantal, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace, love, and hair grease.